Hello, good day. Thank you for joining me in this class. Today I'm going to take you through another video. And in this video, what I'm going to do is just to take you through the second part of what we did the other time concerning relative importance index. Today, I want to focus on severity index. Severity index. Severity index can be computed for risk. So those of you who are working on risk, you have an idea. I guess you have an idea by now that if you want to compute the risk, that's the severity of a risk, what you need to do is that you need to know the impact of the occurrence or the consequences of the risk. And also you need to compute the likelihood of the risk. The likelihood of the risk in this context is the frequency of occurrence. It depends. The terms are, we read different articles, different documents, and they are used differently. But at the end of the day, you can simply look at risk from the point of how often they occur, that's the frequency, and also the impact. If they occur, the impact that people experience or the impact that they have on people, on animals, on anything. Yeah, and the impact here can be in terms of cost, in terms of the number of people who will die, in terms of the number of properties that will be destroyed, and so forth and so forth. And the frequency is the number of times. Maybe it occurs once in a year, once in a month, and all that. So when it also comes to other things, you can also compute the severity. It's not always the case that you have to compute severity for only risk. You can also compute the severity of anything. So just like what we saw the last time in my other video. So if you want to get more idea about the relative importance index, I encourage you to check my video on relative importance index part 1. So in this part 2, I'll take you straight to the formula so that we get an idea about it and then start using it to compute some real data that we have. So I'll go straight to the point by going to where the formula is. So already we have this from other video. And when I say my other video, I mean my video from the relative importance index part 1. So in this part 2, I want us to compute severity index. So already we have the relative importance index, which in this context will represent the importance index. So to get a severity index, very simple. All that you have to do is that you have to add the frequency index multiplied by the importance index, which is up there. Okay, so I'm going to take my time to explain, and then I'll extract part of the importance index to form the frequency index. So let me explain the relative importance index or the importance index in this context again. What is the meaning of this? The importance index in this context refers to the number of respondents who think each of the variables are important. Each of them are important, but the importance, they have their view about how important each of them is. Therefore, if you check the data, which we will be seeing very soon, you see that each of the variables, the respondents take their importance differently. And it's based on the Likert scale. So here too, we are using the Likert scale. And the Likert scale, I mean, from 1 to 5. But you can also use a Likert scale from 1 to 7. You can also use a Likert scale from 1 to 9. Any of them is acceptable. But in this context, I'm using a Likert scale from 1 to 5. Okay, so what is the numerator? What does the numerator represent in the importance index? The numerator in the importance index, if you take the numerator, the 5 is the highest point on the Likert scale, which is 5. Then multiply by the total number of respondents who ticked 5 for that particular variable or factor. Then the 4 to the same. So here, 4 here represent agree. 3 is neutral. 2 is disagree. And 1 is strongly disagree. So the total number of respondents who take each of them, we'll see them very soon. Then when we come to the denominator, we have the HL. The HL here represents the highest point on the Likert scale. And then also the AR represents the total number of respondents in this contest. Total number of respondents. In other words, how many people in all responded to your survey? Are they 500, 200, 300, 500? You will see that also very soon. Okay, so that's the importance index. Then what about the frequency index? So to get a frequency index, I'm going to copy the same thing. The same importance index can also represent or can be used for the frequency index. Okay, the same thing can be used for, but in my case, in this context, I'm going to just limit it to only 3. Yeah, the 3 in my case, according to my scale for the frequency, how often they occur, I will say that 3 will represent high, like they occur often, or something that happens always. And then my 2 will represent medium. And then my scale, my 1 will represent low. But once again, you can use the normal Likert scale, 1 to 5 is acceptable. But if your Likert scale is going to be 1 to 5, then you have to modify the frequency index to accommodate for the 1 to 5. If it's going to be 1 to 7, make sure you modify to accommodate that, and so forth and so forth. So now I have the 2 of them. So since I have the 2 of them, all that I have to do is that I need to compute each of them, then finally multiply them to get the severity index. So without wasting too much time and bothering you with so many formulas, we'll visit them whilst we are doing a computation. I'll go straight to this data set that I have. This data set is on sustainability. Many of you have heard of sustainability. You have done some studies on sustainability and so forth and so forth. So in this context, I have just simplified the entire sustainability thing by looking at the 3 key pillars of sustainability. And they are social, economic, and environment, or the environmental. So social issues, economic issues, and environmental issues. So I'm just assuming that I just put out a survey, and the survey too, if you want to get an idea about it, please watch my video on Google Forms for survey. Kindly watch that. You get more information, you get more insights about how to go about formulating your survey and also distributing it out there. So let's assume this is what I did, and these are the 3 issues that I gave to respondents. I was able to get 500 people to respond to my survey as what they think. So if I take social issues, for example, 65 of the respondents said that they strongly disagree that social issues are not really important when it comes to sustainable development. 80 people disagreed, 40 were neutral, 130 were of the view that they agree that social issues are important to sustainability, sustainable development. And then 185 strongly agreed. if you take economic issues, 57 strongly disagree, 83 disagree, 87 neutral, 130 agree, 143 strongly agree. Environmental issues, 76 strongly disagree, 96 disagree, 85 neutral, 110 agree, 133 strongly agree. Okay, so that is about the importance. Now let's look at the frequency as the low, high, and medium. And let's look at how the respondents also responded. So with the social issues, 156 responded by saying it's low. It's not something that we should spend too much time on. 245 medium, 99 high. And then when it comes to economic issues, 145 low, medium 234, and then 121 high. Now let's come to environmental issues. 104 low, 128 medium, 265 high. Perfect. So now we have the two. We have the importance, issues concerning the importance. They rated the importance. And then we also have the ratings or the responses from the respondents concerning the frequency. Now let's apply the formulas. Get our work done. So I'm just going to copy this one. And just like how I did it in the other video, part 1, if you watch it, you see that it's the same thing. Okay. So as I did it for the other one, I can make it this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can do it, or I can do it as I did it. Okay, so what do I do? If I pick the first one, which is 65, all that I need to do is multiply it by 1 according to the formula. So let me quickly take you to the formula. The formula said 1 times the total number of respondents for that particular factor. Good. And then I do the same thing for the economic issue. So all that you have to do is drag it down. Okay. In other words, 57 times 1. If you check, you can see it in the formula box or for formula bar. 76. Okay, for this one. Great. Now we are done with the first one. Now let's go to 2. So 2, we have to multiply 2 by each of the total respondents, by each of the factors as to how the respondents have responded to that. So 80 by 2, and you drag this thing down because it's going to be the same, because, yeah, this, and then that. Great. Now we do it for 3. This by 3. Then you drag it down. Good. You do the same thing for 4. Then you drag down. You do the same thing for 5. Then you drag down. Great. So what do we do next? The next thing to do is to sum them up to get a total value for the numerator, just like how I did it in my other video. So this is the numerator, the top, the one at the top. So the sum. So how do we sum that? So you just add the total for the 1, for the 2, for the 3, for 4, and then for 5. You just put them together. And you do it's the same thing, so you just bring it down and then get for all the other ones. Good. Now we have the numerator. The next thing to do is to compute the denominator. What does the formula say? The formula says we have to multiply the highest point, which in this case is 5, because the highest point on this Likert scale here is 5. We have to multiply by that one by the total number of respondents. So the first thing that we need to do is that we need to know the total respondents. So here AR represents the total respondent. So how many respondents from the top here? They are 500, right? So 500, 500 responded, 500 responded. Good. Then you just multiply. Okay, so let me put the HL there, which is the highest point on the Likert for 555. And these 555, you just multiply it by the total number of respondents, which is 500 by 5, and that will give you 2,500. So you just scroll down, and that will give you the denominator. So we have our denominator. So to simply, in a simple term, for us to get the importance index, which I'll put it as II. And just put it there. So to get our importance index based on the formula says that we have to just divide. So the total numerator, the ones at the top, divided by the ones below the line. Okay, so in other words, the numerator divided by the denominator. So that is going to be this divided by that, right? And then you just scroll it down, and that will give you it. So that means at the end of the day, what we are seeing here is that if you are going to rank, the highest is going to be the first one, followed by the second one, and this one, the third one. It's not always going to be the case, but in this case, that's how it is. Okay, great. So this is what we have for the importance index. So we have our importance index. Now, the next thing to do is to compute the frequency index. So the frequency index, you do a similar thing. And that one is 1, 2, 3. They are not up to 5. So what do you do? So according to the formula, if you pick the 1, you multiply by 1. And you just scroll down. If you pick 2, you multiply by 2. And you scroll down. You just drag it down. You drag it down to get the other one. 3 by 3. You just bring it down. Yeah. Now we get the numerator here. And that is the sum. So how do we get that? So all that we have to do is just add them. This plus this plus that. That will give you this. You just drag down and it will give you the total for all that. Now let's get the denominator. So our AR, which is the total number of respondents, is 500, 500, 500. And how many points do we have on the Likert scale that we use to, or the respondent used to respond to the frequency of occurrence? So this importance, once again, make the difference. Frequency. Just to distinguish the two. Okay, so how many do we have here? The highest points will be 3, 3, 3, 3. Now to get our denominator, we have to multiply the AR by the HL. It's going to be 500 times 3. We'll drag it down to give us 1,500. Now it's easy for us to get it's very easy for us to get our frequency index. So Fi, frequency index, is going to be the numerator. So if you take the social issue numerator divided by the denominator, and that will give us this. We drag down, and it's giving us this figure. So here we are seeing that this is going to be the first one, followed by second, and this is third. So you can see there's some differences here. Good. So the good thing is that we have the Fi, make it green. And then we have the importance index. So the last thing to do, based on our formula, to get the severity index, to get this, the last thing to do to get a severity index is that we have to multiply the frequency index by the importance index. So we are going to do it one by one, and then we get that. So for us to get our severity index, all that we have to do is that if you take the social issues, you pick your importance index, then you multiply by the frequency index. Then when you pick the next one, which is the economic issues, you pick your importance index, then multiply by the second one. Then when you pick the last one, you multiply by the last one. Good. So based on this, we can now do the proper ranking of the severity index, then interpret. So based on this is going to be the first one. This is going to be second, and this is going to be third. Okay, so that means according to our analysis, the environmental issues rank the highest. It is very dear to the heart of respondents. They see that to be more severe. Yeah, and if there is a need for us to take any action on sustainable development, we need to tackle our environmental issues first, followed by social issues. Environmental issues first, followed by social issues, and the last one is the economic issues. Okay, so thank you so much for your time. I'm really grateful for this fantastic time that we have spent together. And I hope you have learned a lot concerning relative importance index. And in the last video, I took you through relative importance index 1. And this one, I have taken you through relative importance 2. So, and the second one is more of like severity index. Yeah, which is a little bit further of the normal relative importance index. Okay, good. There are a number of studies, articles that have used this approach, and the one I used in my previous video. So if you want to get access to them, there are a number of them. Just search. There are so many of them. But here I'm going to show you, before we go, I want to show you only 2 of them quickly, which you can use. I'm just going to show you the titles. The first one is Factors Affecting Construction Labor Productivity for Malaysian Residential Projects. Factors Affecting Construction Labor Productivity for Malaysian Residential Projects. If you go through that article, you can see that what we have done today, they have done exactly that. And this is not the only article. There are so many other articles that did the same thing. Okay, the second one Second article I want to show you is factors affecting construction labor productivity in Kuwait. And if you go through that article too, they also computed the relative importance index. Okay, so I'm just showing you two, but there are so many articles. Just go through the Google Scholar and search. You see so many articles that have used the two relative importance index I've shown you so far in my last two videos. Thank you so much and have a good one. Bye-bye for now.